City Council, can you hear me? The Cedar Springs City Council on Tuesday, August 29th, 2023 at 7:01 PM to order. All rise and say the pledge with me if you feel so inclined. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call the roll. Ms. Atchison.
Here.
Mr. Gross.
Here.
Ms. Hamel.
Present.
Ms. Nixon will not be here tonight. Ms. Powell.
Here.
Ms. Race.
Here.
And Mayor Conley is here. At this time, I would entertain a motion to excuse Ms. Nixon.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ms. Nixon is training someone tonight. She's a hospice nurse, and she's training someone for the night shift. Public comments. The council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment and public hearing portion of the agenda. However, council policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If after communicating with the city manager no resolution is reached, the concern will be elevated to the mayor and eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. State your name and address for the clerk if you would like a written response. We're not going to ask you to, because we are recording on YouTube and we are recording on Zoom. We don't ask that you put your address out there. But if you want us to respond to you, that is a thing that has to happen, if that makes sense. Public comment.
Sean Kippart with the Friends of Skinner Field. I'm not going to address anything that's on the agenda today. I don't know if I'll wait till if there's questions later. So all I'm giving you is the update from the meeting we had 2 weeks ago. We added 2 additional board members. So our board is currently made up of the CASA operations manager, the middle school football program director, a Cedar Springs youth football member and high school concession coordinator, a sports booster board member and volleyball coach for Comstock Park, and the operations manager for Fruit Ridge Premier League and the 7th grade middle school football head coach. So we are at 6 active voting and pretty diverse. It was requested by one of the city council members that we reach out for additional representation. We also have open invitations to Cedar Springs youth football, and we were pretty close, I thought, to getting the treasurer for Cedar Youth Football. We were kind of talking to her about that, and then I haven't heard anything else, but I think that might be because of what's going on now. But anyway, moving on, we had 2 complaints coming at the same time about tall grass under the bleachers and some chipping paint on the tower. We spray under the bleachers and the fence lines twice a year. This year, as anyone with grass even in their yard knows, it's grown a little faster than normal. We've never had to spray in July before. Probably could have done that this year. It has been sprayed, now it's down. We sprayed it a couple weeks earlier than we normally do. We normally do it in the spring prior to this, as soon as it starts to turn green, and then we do it before the fall seasons. And that's worked every year for 8 years. This year it didn't work. It was a good growing season. And then the chipping paint, it was last painted 2 years ago, professionally done. As a matter of fact, it was a donated service by a painting company. But we put in a new AC unit, wall mounted, and I think the moisture from that has trickled down and it's a wood-sided, it's one of the last wood-sided buildings, and so the paint starts to chip. So it does need to be scraped and painted. And at the last meeting, we also purchased the new toilets we put in 4 years ago were the low flow, which should not be in a commercial building anywhere. You have to hold the handle. We can't even get kids to hit the handle, but so they would get clogged. So we picked up 4 new tankless commercial. It doesn't conserve water, but it will flush, and we won't have the backups anymore. So we did buy those. They are on site. We just need to get them installed. That's it.
Okay, Are you keeping time, Darla? Yes. Okay, then I won't. Hold up fingers. Okay, who else would like to speak? Come on up.
Hal Babcock, 2711.
Can you move over to the microphone? We won't start the timer until you get over there, but you can't be heard on the video if you're not in the microphone. Do we have our hand mic? Okay, because that might be.
Okay. Hal Babcock, 2711, 18 Mile Road, Solon Township. I had a seat on the committee, joint committee, Cedar and Solon originally, that assessed the need for library building, and it was made up of a mix of Solon, Cedar people, and we, assessed the need for the building, created a floor plan for the building, and working with many other people in the community, came up with what you got on Main Street. Now, what I want to talk about is this talk of mills in relation to the library. I have never paid a single mill in property tax. No one else here has either. What you've paid is dollars. Property taxes are calculated in dollars, billed in dollars, paid and expensed in dollars. And that's what we should be talking about for about this equivalent financing. A mill assessed in Cedar Springs generates approximately $100,000 in tax revenue. A mill assessed in Solon generates 2.25 times that much. So you can't, if you want to talk mills in township or the different municipalities, you just have to talk, about those that have equal assessments, and that's not true. I'm going to make sort of an example here. If gasoline was priced as property taxes are calculated, and you had, two customers at gas station, one representing Cedar Springs residents in aggregate, and one representing Solon's residents in aggregate. You could walk in, and a Cedar Springs customer could walk up with having purchased their 10 gallons of gas and be told, it's priced at $4. The Solon resident could walk up and be told at the same price, the same 10 gallons of gas would cost them $90. $40 versus $90 for the same tax assessment. So that's all I have to say on that, and appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good.
My name is Eva Miller-Videtich. I live in Solon Township, and I've lived there for about 35 years. I've heard he said, she said, they stated, and I am unsure who and what to believe. The bottom line for me and my husband is we will use the use of our library effective October 13th, 2023. The library right now is a 20-minute round-trip drive for me. I contacted Claire Membiella, who is the law library consultant for the state. She researched and we brainstormed together to find a library for me. Fremont District Library in Newaygo is the one that I will be able to use. My situation is very unique, though. I will need to drive 40 miles one way to get there, and if the two political entities don't reach a compromise, that's what I'll be doing. And for me, it's a very sad day that my own community does not have a library. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Andrew Thompson. I am a citizen of Cedar Springs, and I've been to a number of the meetings about this particular topic. At one point in time, it was about fairness in mills. I actually understand that as a city resident. I get that, I appreciate that, but as far as I'm concerned, Solon has started to come around to the other side, while perhaps not 100% equitable, definitely came a long way. But I feel as though we as a community are changing the rules and changing the game by saying they can't even have a minority voice. I would like you guys to really think long and hard about that as a community, not getting into the taxation representation thing, but just having even a minority voice. We're supposed to be majority rule with minority protections. You're asking people to contribute, you're asking them to be there and do that and give them not even an overruled voice. I'd also like you to consider your own words and your own viewpoints on this is a service contract and so on. Sorry if I didn't get the exact terminology. And remind you all that that's what KDL will do to you. KDL does not put you on their board either. KDL would make you an non-binding advisory board. All these things about what we're saying of you don't get a say is the same thing KDL is going to say to us when we have to go there. And yes, I said when we have to go there, because if Solon and us can't find a way to get along, even by anybody's numbers, Cedar alone is not going to have the budget to pay the library budget. Without any revenue from any place else, we will not be having a community library even as a resident here in Cedar Springs. And if there's a secret plan of how we're going to have a library without Solon, I'd certainly love to have that sent to me. My address is 380 Pioneer Trail, Cedar Springs, 49319. We've gotten way out of hand of what seems like a power play. I appreciate that there was a request for equity. Ashley, several months ago, you said if anybody was willing to say, hey, I'm okay with paying more, the new proposal where they've come a long ways, yes, I as an individual citizen am okay with saying they've come a long ways. No, they're not at 100% parity. Let's give them minority representation that we can still control. And don't forget, as long as you guys are all on this control thing, you're not going to get it with KDL. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I have some material to be passed out to the City Council. My name is Tony Owen. I'm the Secretary of the Library Board. I have received information from Claire, who is the attorney at the Library of Michigan, which says that if you lose Solon, you're going to be a Class 1 library. As such, your state aid, your penal fines and stuff will be greatly reduced. You've got about, according to her email to me, about 3,600 people in in Cedar Springs. With that, you don't make the limit for Class 2. Class 2 is 4,000. I also have the history of the Cedar Springs Library that I'm passing out to you. We also had it at the library board meeting last night. This is what the Library of Michigan has as its records for this library. This is not something the library board put together. This is not something that was just thrown together. It's done by the state of Michigan at our request. We asked them, what's the history of the library? That's what they gave us. Their attorney gave us that. If you go to KDL, the library will be a branch to KDL. You won't get any state aid. You won't get any penal fines. Any of the millage that you're currently paying will go directly to KDL. I mean, might as well have it here with the library rather than going to someone down in Grand Rapids. I have given copies of this to the clerk, and I would like to have them made part of the minutes if I could, please.
Next.
Hi, excuse me. My name's Claudia Maybe. I'm a Solon Township resident. Two things happened to me today that I want to share with you. One, I was in my first picket line ever. I never thought I would be. And another thing I never thought I would be doing is talking with you about what's going on in our community. Tom and I, as Solon Township residents, still call Cedar Springs our community. When people say, where are you from or what's going on, we take the good and the bad with what's going on in Cedar Springs. We have volunteered many hours up and down Main Street and around the community, trying to make things better for the greater community of Cedar Springs. We've attended in nauseam meetings, and we've also donated financially to a lot of those projects. And it's not the time for us to feel so let down and so many steps backward to the euphoria that we as a total Cedar Springs community felt just a few years ago when we were opening our new library. It had no debt, the doors were open, and everything was paid for. And it got handed over to the city of Cedar Springs because it needed an identifiable governmental agency. The city of Cedar Springs paid $1. $1. Several million from around the area were collected to make that building happen. I think that with the intention and the heart that built that building, we are not seeing it now. It's like it never existed. I was at the library board meeting last night, and one of the board members suggested that when there's a meeting or when something significant happens on this topic, that Solon Township, the city of Cedar Springs, and the library board post the most recent updates on each of their websites. I didn't have a chance to follow up after the meeting, but my suggestion would be that'd be a wonderful idea, but it has to be the same posting on all three websites. To put your spin on it, or your spin on it, or your spin on it, makes it worth nothing. We have so many your spins going on, it just is overwhelming. I'll end with this comment. It's a rumor, and we have a lot of them. No Solon participants means that the city cannot finance the library. If the city can't finance the library, all the residents will have to find other libraries to go to. And once that building's empty, there was a city employee who has been heard more than once saying that library would make a great city council building. Promise me that will never come to fruition, and that building will always be a library.
That building will always be a library.
Vicki Babcock, Solon Township. My understanding is that Solon Township met the amount of money that you were asking per year for the library in the contract that you sent to them. It was turned down because Solon asked to keep their 3 board seats, and this is the sticking point for you. What you are not considering is that Solon Township, as well as the rest of the community, built that library, supported that library both monetarily and through Public Works. The library board has always worked well together up until just recently. And my understanding is people are saying that the Solon Township board members have been a problem. You created that, Michael sent that letter out prior to a lot of what has happened. So please don't use that as your reason. Think about the community, think about Solon Township residents, think about the kids of Cedar Springs Public Schools who will not be able to go to the library if you continue this way. And thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Well, I guess I'm probably not going to be as kind as the rest of the speakers. The elephant in the room is the recent actions by this council regarding our community library have obviously been orchestrated by a self-serving mayor. She's been working behind the scenes to oust Solon Township representatives from the board. She has reportedly written new bylaws for the library, something that is the library's responsibility. In addition, she's made a list of and has been recruiting new members by the board, thereby usurping power that doesn't belong to her. At a recent public forum, it was made very clear that we, the people, want our library to remain a community library, just as it is, under local control, with members and employees who know and love our community. Each of you were elected to be public servants, chosen to represent our needs and what we want, not to fulfill your personal agendas. For years, the library and the city have worked together. Solon has had representatives assigned to the library board for 24 years. Suddenly, Lisa Etchison just informed me that she and apparently the council doesn't think the people on the board are working together with the council for the community. The only thing that has changed, it seems, is that the mayor and a board member have a personality conflict. Or more to the point, the mayor is seeking more control than she's entitled to. The tactics being used in this situation by Ms. Nixon, and I'm sorry she's not here, are reprehensible. There was a comment made by a Solon Township person that, quote, failing to accept Solon's agreement would be a fatal mistake. By calling this a personal threat and getting a PPO against this person is ludicrous. shame on her and shame on this board if you don't do the right thing and leave our community library as it is. Thank you.
Would you like the hand mic? Would you like the hand mic so you don't have to walk over? Okay.
Do you want me to hang on to your sign while you're up there? Okay, that's fine. Then you don't.
For those that don't know me, Mark Laws, I'm a Cedar Springs resident. I've been here about 15 years or so. Way back before we had a library, there was a group that got together and they had to come up with a name. And Kurt, one of our fantastic folks, said, I think it should be Community Building Development Team. And he said, because it's a community thing, and the people, there was 5 families that gave most of the money for that library, and they all wanted, and they even said in them when they gave the money to the city, this is only for a community library and nothing else. That money sat there for quite a while, didn't it, Kurt? And then finally, we got things all lined up, and yeah, community library. So, and I've been involved in a few disagreements, maybe you want to call it that. That wonderful symbol over there on the wall. We had I got to be careful, I shouldn't go into genders, but we had a female city manager and a male city manager that both thought that they owned that symbol. But we said, no, the community owns that symbol. And we had a pretty long fight, but eventually, I can't remember if it's because the managers left. Anyway, we got that figured out, and it's a community thing. That symbol is a community thing. Also had a situation where we had some sitting city council members and a mayor at one time that did one of these to me when I was up here talking and said, we don't need to listen to you, you're not an attorney. And I would have been fine with you're not an attorney because I'm not, but this little gesture caused me to go down to the county building, and we end up removing 4 of them. So, and that's not a threat, that's a promise, because the same thing's going to happen here if you don't take care of the community, that all these folks that are citizens are your boss. They elected you, and they expect you to do community things. So it's up to you. You decide what you want to do. I can guarantee you, just like in Bug's life, the ants always win. The grasshoppers always lose. Quit acting like a grasshopper, please. But we're all set. We're all lined up, ready to roll. You know, Flick, if whatever, Flick's ready to go. So if you grasshoppers need Flick to behave and roll, Flick will. Your choice. Thank you.
Anyone else? Careful.
Good evening. My name's Don Taylor. I live up on 21 Mile Road. I'm not, all these people before me have been here 15 years, 30 years, 35 years. I haven't lived here a year yet. I don't know what happened in the past, other than I gained a little knowledge this morning. I stopped in the township hall. I've talked to a couple of people here tonight. I'll tell you what, I've never seen, I moved out here because I thought it was a community thing. I mean, there's enough divide in this world. Why in the heck do we have to have a fight between a township and a city over a library? I don't know the money thing. I don't know the money thing. I don't know the board issues, none of it. But as a new person to the community, it's, to me, utterly ridiculous. And if it's a power thing, get off your damn high horse.
Anyone else?
Okay, how many of you sitting there as our city council knew who I am? Okay, I know several of you do. And several of you know where I live. And several of you know where I go to church or what I do for fun. But as a Cedar Springs City Council, your job is to represent me. And I don't feel you've been representing me very fairly. Okay? I've lived in the city here for almost 50 years. And in the area most of my life. So I'm not unfamiliar with this area at all. Shoot, when we were kids, we came to Red Flannel Day. This was a great town. You know, I wanted to live here, and then when I got married, we did live here. A great thing, okay? And my husband of 59 years, Alan King, some of you might know him as well. He worked at the school in custodial maintenance for 25 years. Many of those years limping along, but he loved the school. He loved the community, and he did it because he wanted to serve his community and be in the schools and help those kids. And that was very important to him. You know, we raised our children here, and when we were raising, we helped with whatever we needed to do to better our community. We wanted it to be a great place for our kids and for all the kids in the area, as well as the other people that lived here, be they rich, be they poor, be they somewhere in between. You know, our neighbors, we had great neighbors. You might remember Alan Gert Gust, lived right behind us. He was pharmacist in town for a while. Oh, and you'll all remember John Cody, at least those of you who have been around here long enough. Him and Ernestine lived right behind us. He was a principal at one of the schools. Oh, and Ernestine passed away. We were all so sad. And then he married Florence, and she was such a sweet lady and had beautiful flowers. And I got a lot of my flowers from her that I have in my yard now. And Russ Durst, he would come home from work, white in his hair, white all over his clothes with his overalls from the drywall that he had been installing all day. These were the founders in our community along with their parents and others. You know, important people in our community. We love our community. They did, we do, and we want to continue that on. Our community is just not the people that live within the city limits. Our community is all of our friends, our neighbors, our family that live in this area. How can you tell some of them that they can't participate in our town, in our library? That's ridiculous. You know, I served on the library board twice. I served when Ellie Barber was the director, and then after I retired, I served on the library board again with Donna. And then I also worked very hard getting her replacement. And, you know, unfortunately, that didn't work out, you know, and I feel really bad about that. But now it seems like my community is being torn apart by you, the very people that we elected to represent us. You know, I don't feel that's fair. Is it greed? Power? You know, when I found out
That's
on,
time.
that was 4 minutes? Okay,
We'll give you 30 seconds to.
30 seconds. Okay, when I found out on August 10th, I didn't find out that day, it was a couple days later, I sat and cried like a baby because you did not accept Solon's offer to give you what you asked for. I mean, I just could not understand it. I couldn't sleep. I just kept sobbing. I felt totally betrayed, you know, and I don't want my community destroyed by not allowing all of our community access to our library. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Kurt Maybe. I live on Ritchie Avenue in Cedar Springs. I've been here before on this here, and I talked about basically the same thing I'll say tonight. I'm rather disappointed that this is going on in Cedar Springs. We came together 10 years ago to build a brand-new library, and it was built upon good faith from people from Cedar Springs, from people from Algoma, from people from Nelson, from people, all the communities around. Did it in good faith. I can look around here right now and I can point out several people myself that butted heads. But you know, good organizations have that. Good organizations sit down and they talk about it. We don't become vindictive. We talk it out and figure out how do we get through it and become better than either one of us expected us to be. To say I'm disappointed would be an understatement. I feel that this is nothing but vindictiveness. And it comes from Madam Mayor from a conversation with you. When you tell me that you will not talk to me anymore and you hang up the phone after you tell me that I had Bob right where I wanted him until you spoke. To me, that comes
Recording in
across.
progress.
Is that you, God?
Sorry.
But anyways, that's vindictiveness. That's not what's best for our community. Our community has come along very hard. And as Mark said earlier, one of the things that was a stipulation was that we were a Cedar Springs Community Library, nothing else. The community to signify the entire school district, the entire area. But now we're going back upon that. Please don't do that, guys. We've got a good thing going here. You know, we've accomplished a lot. And if you take a look up and down Main Street right now, count how many new businesses and how many businesses have been refurbished and whatnot, all because of what was done in leadership of City Council. Please continue to lead that way. There is no right and no wrong on this thing. Solon Township is willing to step forward, be willing to step up to bat yourselves and come up with what's best, maybe something even better for all of us. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Well, Donna Clark. For me, it's about the families and about the children. Our children's librarian is here tonight, Melissa. It's going to be, she's one of the frontliners that when people come in, the staff have to tell them that their cards aren't going to work. A lot of them don't even know. And it's hard to explain or just say, I'm sorry, they're just not going to work on October 13th. The kids can still come to the story time, but they can't take home any books because if they're from Solon Township, you know, that just breaks my heart because I look around this room and I see all the people, all the effort that we did together. I came in 2001, but the Breton Group had come and Solon and the city had been partnering to pay them to come do interviews to see if our community could even afford or want a library. And they found that a library would be a good idea. So then they started saying, you have to have equitable funding. So we started those proceedings. And then in 2004, we even invited Lance Warner from KDL to come and talk to us about what KDL looked like. What could they do for us? Maybe that would be a good idea. But in the end, we didn't get really far with that because our efforts to do fundraising and to, you know, try to bring in a library that we could figure out what we were going to do with it as a community or as KDL. But it was so different from this time because then we were looking at it together. It was us. We were asking the questions together. And this time, it kind of felt like it was being pushed. There was a time limit. We could try on KDL and have them for, was it a year, I think? See if they would bring in their stuff and we would take our stuff out and we could see what it's like to be KDL. Is that right? Okay, can you tell me what it was?
No.
No? Okay, well, anyway, that was my takeaway. And so maybe if that's not right, maybe other people, we'll figure that out. But anyway, it did feel like it wasn't us. It felt kind of like it was being pushed. And then with the whole thing with Solon Township, It's just not right since we've worked so hard together and we built the community library. And if you look at the entire place, the heart of Cedar Springs, which we all gave our hearts to, I've seen paperwork with all the figures, and it was 3 million plus like 800,000. So there's a lot of money been given. And so from 2001 to 2017, we moved in on May 8th. And I don't know how it was done, but I can kind of figure it out. We were debt-free, and we weren't totally, it was paid off by someone or somehow. And so it was given in good faith that we would all be able to use the library we built. And a big portion of the money came from Solon Township and Nelson Township. We had the gala, we've been awake for years, meetings after meetings. And many of you have come, I know Rose has come to them, and Pam sometimes when she could, and different ones of us, but we're all invested, all of us. And it's our community, we're neighbors, we care about each other. And this is the hardest thing, and what Eva didn't mention when she was talking about getting a library card, she didn't mention that she is an exception because she had property in Newaygo. That's how she got her card. Not everybody has property anywhere else. It's us. Also, she checked around to see if, okay, the last thing I'll say.
30 seconds.
To see if she could buy a library card somewhere. And they said no. There used to be, just a few years ago, there was a library card that you could buy, a non-resident card. And KDL had them, and now they're saying that they're doing away with them. So now Solon Township has no recourse unless they have property somewhere else. That breaks my heart. Anyway. And the penal fines is another thing. That's about $9,000 from Solon Township a couple of years ago. So I don't see how we can just, in 3 years, it'll be $250,000. How can we just say, we don't want it, we'll get it somewhere else? It just seems wrong. Thank you. And you're all still my friends. All of you are my friends. Thank you all for all you've done. I know your gifts. I know. I've seen you lots of times before. I love you, Melissa. Keep up those efforts.
Anyone else?
Hi. Oh, can you hear me? Hi. My name is Anna, and I am a resident of Solon Township. And I have a little 10-month-old baby boy. We moved here about 3 years ago, and we were kind of touring around the area, seeing kind of what the area was like. I was like, oh my God, this library, what is this? Like, I did not expect this out here. And I was completely blown away, and I was like, okay, huge checkpoint, like library. And we moved here to start a family and to grow in this community. And when this all kind of started, kind of the first thing I really couldn't get out of my mind is, what is going to happen to the children in Solon Township? What happens to them? And I kind of went about calling places, calling the schools, researching, trying to get information. And what I found just kind of continued to distress me more, and that is the high school has no library.
Correct.
There's no library there. And I was told there are books in the English classrooms, but then what happens to my son? What happens to him when he goes to high school? Where is he going to get these books? I mean, we can buy them, but not everyone can afford to buy books. What happens when there's a book report? What happens to those kids? That's what really hurts me, is the kids are going to be the ones that are hurt by this choice. They have no say. Kids have no voice. We are. We as adults have that voice for our children, and we have to make the best choice for the future of the community and for those kids. My son, he loves books. It's stupid. He's 10 months old. He can't read, but he started crawling. It was a book they got him to crawl. We couldn't get him to crawl to save our life. We couldn't do it at all. And he crawled for one book, and the book that we got, it was from Cedar Springs Public Library, and the book is called Let's Go to the Library, is the name of that book. It's an ugly, like, brown, so boring, like, why would this even be interesting to this child? Like, there's books about fairies and dragons, and no, he just wants a book about going to a library. These two kids, they go to the library, they want to check out a book, and that's all they do, the whole story. It's really stupid, honestly. But all I can think about is, how can I continue reading his favorite book to him when he won't have a library? He won't have one. And it hurts every time he reaches for it, every time he sees that book, thinking, what library? What library will he have? Will he have one? Will he grow up without a library? And that's a really, truly scary thing to think about for the kids. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So my name's Danielle Phillips, live at 374 Guy Street. And I sat on the library board. I sat on the planning commission here, and I've sat on the library board, met a lot of phenomenal people. It was during the time we were working with the city on the contract. And you want to talk about conflict? Mr. Maybe's right. We spent a lot of time working through things and struggling. At one point, we did a fundraiser, and Kurt Maybe told me I get to talk on behalf of the library. It's terribly scary. Do you remember meeting at my house? And I said, what do you want me to say? And you say, I wanted you to talk about community. That was me. I shared the stage with Mayor Conley. And you were brilliant. You talked about good governance. You talked about collaboration. And you talked about the importance of what this library meant to us. So I don't know the back end of everything. I remember sharing the stage with you. And I hope that we can all get together, because this is my end. They're talking now. So I think we all want to hear from you guys, all of you. So thanks.
Anyone else? Sure.
Never done this before. I wasn't out for the protest because I was busy at the school. I had a meeting tonight. My name is Linda Zimmerman. I live at 3081 18 Mile Road, and I have lived in Solon Township for over 30 years. My children both attend Cedar Springs Public Schools. I worry about the CTA kids a little bit too, because we have to also include them in on this. I don't know how many of them. I'm sure they use the library. Another thing I want to add is that both of my girls have volunteered through the KDL. They've done different things. They've paged for the librarians. They've done tremendous work for them. It's a program. It's called what is it called, hon? It's Teen Crew. That's what it's called. I knew it would come to my mind. I'm just nervous. And it has given them so much social interaction with the community and the people that walk in through the door. And it would just be heartbreaking. Not only is it just the books, you know, I wanted to add this, that there's community involvement as far as volunteer work for these kids to do at the library. So that way, when they go out in the world, this is something that they can take with them to a job interview and say, hey, I volunteered at the library, before they even step foot in, say, McDonald's for their first job. And it's something that will be totally gone for our kids. And that's just something it's just my heart speaks to me, because there's so much going on right now in the world, and that we're divided. And it's just, now we have this, and it's just absolutely atrocity to me. It's a sad day. I have lived in Cedar Springs since I was 7 years old, and now I'm in my 40s, so just that for the record. But anyway, so I love you all. I really hope we can get this figured out, because this is just so maddening on Facebook. One person says this, one person says that, and I'm like, what? And as this is the first time I've ever stood here, and I just wanted to add that piece, because it's not something that has been talked about, but Teen Crew is a great program. It's wonderful.
KDL?
Yeah, it's through KDL, but I'm sure our community library can do this. We're a community, right?
But we're not KDL.
I understand, but our community library can also offer these things for our children too. It's not hard. They do. Well, then they do. That's great. And I am all for libraries. It's wonderful. And I just have to say, because of that, our kids are better for it, right? They're better to go out in the community and be able to volunteer and to have that time and to be with people. And it's greatly impacted our kids. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom?
There are 3 members of the public on Zoom. If you would like to speak, you can please raise your hand or unmute yourself and you'll be called upon by the mayor.
You have to help me see if someone's raising their hand. I'm not.
At this time, no one has raised their hand on Zoom.
Okay. Then we're going to move on. And you need a motion to go into closed session? Blake's nodding at me. And a roll call? Okay. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session under MCL 15.268.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I will take a roll call. Ms. Atchison?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Hamel?
Yes.
Ms. Nixon? Oh, she's not here. Sorry. Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Race?
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. So we will recess for 5 minutes? No?
We're going to go into a conference room, so if
Okay.
anybody wants to stay here, they're welcome to stay. We're going to leave the room and go into another.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Do you need us to adjourn until we get in there? No? I'm looking at the clerk. No? Okay. A motion to go back into open session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And then we need to do, you would like a roll call on that? So Ms. Atchison?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Hamel?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Race?
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. We are back in open session. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to, so we have on the rest of our agenda, and we're not amending the agenda, a motion to terminate for the Friends of Skinner Field. And does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to terminate the existing lease and operating agreement with the Friends of Skinner Field effective in 60 days.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Would you like a roll call? Ms. Atchison?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Hamel?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Race?
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. And then I have also a motion to approve the Teams of Skinner Field lease effective agreement.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager and city attorney to negotiate an operating agreement with the Teams of Skinner Field and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the same.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call. Ms. Atchison?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Hamel?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Race?
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. So Okay. Then I think that leaves us with council comments. Okay. Mr. Gross?
A lot of discussion tonight. A lot of thought went on in through the closed session. I think that through some agreements that we have worked through some problems. And appreciate the time and the effort that have gone into it. And hopefully everything works out from this point. That's it.
Ms. Powell?
I think we are working through this issue, and I certainly would hope that all you wonderful folks, friends and families, will go to the Solon Township Board meeting with your signs and encourage the Solon Township Board meeting to trustees to work it out with our board. That's all I can say about that. But thank you for coming. And
Ms. Reese?
Just glad to see people here. We're always wanting to have people here, good, bad, whatever. I think we're taking a good step forward in what needs to be done to get the library where we feel it needs to be. And we hope it's good for everyone, so thank you.
Ms. Atchison?
I agree with everybody, and wonderful to see all of your bright, shiny faces. And it was nice to come and have a bunch of people here, whether you were picketing or not picketing or whatever you're doing. I cheer you all for standing up for what you believe in. We received as a board quite a few letters from people. I tried to answer them all. I know it's quoted for one thing, but if you're gonna quote us, please quote everything that we said. That would be great, because one little blurb here or there doesn't tell the whole thing. And I want you to know that I love this community and I love this community library, and that's what I said in my letters back to the people that sent letters to me. And I also thank them for writing to us and letting us know how you feel, because we don't know. We don't know how you feel until you tell us. And that's the only way we can represent our community, is if we know what you want. So I commend you all for coming tonight, sitting through this long meeting, waiting for us to come out of closed session, and telling us how you feel, because I want to know. I really do. And whether you feel the same way as I do, for telling me, we don't know. So thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you guys for all coming out. I have asked several times for people to get in contact with me. I read every single letter. I tried to keep up as much as I possibly could on the Facebook pages and stuff. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I apologize if I didn't write you back. I got a lot of messages, which I read every single one. I just couldn't respond to like all the ones that were outside of Cedar, but I definitely read it and definitely took it under advisement. I really, really, really appreciate all of your thoughtful comments today. I had a day, sorry. But like, it's really, really cool to see us all come together. And I appreciate you guys challenging my opinion, because a lot of the things that you said did make me question not what I think, but how we can go about it so that both sides are working together. And really, we should have a library that kids can use and people can go to. I remember going to my libraries. I'm a total bookworm. Love all that stuff. So I really appreciate all the comments, and they are not falling on deaf ears. So please contact me. You can Facebook me. I am reading all of the comments on Facebook. So yeah, I really appreciate it, because there's no way for me to know unless I'm told.
And I also thank all of you for coming. I would also encourage you to talk to especially those of you who are representatives by Solon Township, that you need to go talk to them and you need to go to their meetings. And we are working very hard at being transparent. All of our meetings live on YouTube. All of our agendas are available. All of our packets are available. They live there in perpetuity. And I am being told lots and lots of things that are just not the claims of what is. And we have to work with what is. When we're talking to Lakeland, when we need to hire a library director, because we don't have one, and they currently won't post one, we have to make that happen. So, libraries are like oxygen. I have given thousands of dollars to this library. I sponsor the Read to Ride program. The idea that there are children who can't access the library makes me sick. I am horrified that our schools do not have libraries. I don't even know what to say about that. I have a 16-year-old. There is they built over the library in the high school. This library is the only library we have. And they have a $1,000 book budget. I have spent more than $1,000 on books for the library. I can't say more than that, but we're adjourned.
Yay.
Record.
No, it's just the end of the meeting.
I know that that's what they do.
If all the business is done, you don't have.
If you have adjournment on your agenda, you know when it's due. It's the only thing that doesn't require much.
Thank you.